Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Jim, when you look at Maryland and see Talia, what stands out about him from this year, and that maybe he's grown and improved on from last year?
Did you say the quarterback?
Yeah.
You know, he's always been a dynamic player. I mean, he creates offense. He has a really strong arm. You know, he can make the throws from sideline to sideline. You know, he hurt us with some plays last year. I just think he's a great player, but he's also making good decisions. You know?
Getting pressure on him, they've only given up 3 sacks this year. How do you generate pressure for a guy like that?
You know, you have to try to keep him off balance. You know, at the same time, it's really got to be a coordinated rush. I mean, because you see multiple instances of guys coming free and he makes them miss. I mean, you know, scot-free. So, really, there's a lot of coordination involved in trying to contain him. It's got to be a big part of the game plan.
Second row left, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
You guys have, I think, the longest touchdown you've allowed so far this year, 2 yards, something like that. Was that? Well, that was obviously a big offseason focus. Like, is that your biggest, I guess, measurement right now of whether that's been a success, or what else are you seeing from this defense that goes along with that makes these changes worth it?
You know, I'm seeing a lot of resiliency. I'm seeing, you know, a get better approach, you know, accountability in mistakes, you know, across the board if they're made. How do we fix them? You know, I just feel like everybody's working together. You know, that's the biggest thing. You know, it's always, what have you done for me lately? You know, that we need to focus on and keep pressing forward. But like, there's enough good things that we can look at and say, look, this was good, you know. And there are enough things that we can fix, you know, to always stay hungry.
Last year you used Tommy so relentlessly in the blitz, and you said last time we talked to you about how much you think you're blitzing less than you ever have before. How do you still, I guess, use him as the weapon you want him to be if you're not using him as much in that capacity?
Yeah, we're using him more to be, you know, a quarterback on the field. That's really he's become that guy that can see things that I see, you know, think like me, and you know, he can make changes and adjustments on the field. So I don't know, maybe we're using him more for his mind and less for his aggression, but you know, they're still both involved, but he's become really a true quarterback of the defense.
Third row, middle, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, you guys had some trouble with covering the tight end against Notre Dame. Is there anything you look at coming out of that you need to do better?
No, I think those matchups, particularly against a team like that has seemed to always have good tight ends, I think there can always be more adjustments, you know, more ways to focus on it and things to learn. Nothing specifically, but I know that we need to have, you know, even continue to build the arsenal against that kind of tight end.
Is there a possibility of moving a guy like Sonny around more when you're going up against a tight end like that?
Yeah, I always consider that. You know, you have to balance disguise with doing that. You know, when you move him around, you know, can the offense get a beat on you? You know, are you less? Are you telling more? You know, are you showing more when you do it? But it's definitely a possibility.
Far left, Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Jim, you already talked about Talia, but they've made it very clear. They want to have 12 explosive plays a game, and they got 9 last week. What do they do as a team that allows them to have those big plays so consistently?
You know, we always talk about coverage and rush working together, so really it's he has the ability to extend plays, you know, and when you get an extended play, the opportunity to make an explosive or give up an explosive, it goes up, you know, and he has that ability to extend it, and I think that's why it's happening.
How do you get your guys? I mean, obviously, when the play gets extended, physically it can be exhausting, but mentally it can be just as exhausting. So how do you work on that to make sure they can stay crisp mentally as a play gets longer?
I yell at them a lot as the play goes on against the scout team, and we try to have the quarterback extend the plays to simulate it, and then I just scream at them as loudly as I can.
Front row, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, you said right after the Notre Dame game that it was good to be able to learn from a win. You held them to 14 points, but they did control the ball. What did you learn when you watched the tape, and what's been the emphasis since then?
You know, I saw some things, you know, that I needed to adjust, I guess you would say. You know, I think that some of those long drives, I could have adjusted better to some of the things they were doing with motioning the tight end, you know, and creating extra gaps. It's just really on me to keep learning and getting better at it.
It seems to have kind of gotten that consistency that everyone's been talking about. Is that what you're seeing? How effective has he been?
Yeah, I mean, like he missed some time early, so when you look at reps, you know, they all count, and you go back to camp and things like that. So he's like actually still behind in reps when you look at, you know, most of the time all we do is practice. So it seems to me that the more reps he gets, it's that game shape, and he's able to extend himself, you know, and keep his athletic ability going into the fourth quarter.
Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Jim, you were saying, you know, getting pressure is obviously important with a quarterback like this. What else are some keys to slowing down Tagovailoa? Like mixing up things in the secondary, just what are some keys to slowing him down?
Yeah, you've got to present some different pictures. You know, it's kind of like a catch-22. You present different pictures, and he holds the ball longer. You know, so you know it's presenting different pictures, but then having a coordinated rush. You know, it's not like a typical quarterback where you say, hey, let's present some different pictures, get him to hold the ball, and just go after him, you know, mix it up and go after him. Can't do that with him because if you present different pictures and he holds the ball, you know, now you better be coordinated with your rush. So it is different.
Are they pretty similar offensively to what they were last year, or have they made any major changes?
No, they're pretty similar.
Doug Maurice, the Kings of Columbus.
Jim, I think this is right. In the Notre Dame game, JT was on the right side over the left tackle most of the game, almost the entire game. But then he makes the play on the opposite side. He's lined up on knocking down the screen. How does something like that happen? Is there a decision? How did it come to be that he was there at that time?
No, I mean, yeah, he knocked down the screen and he had the TFL, right? He made 2 really, really big plays. No, Coach Johnson has his plan and he works it beautifully. So that was a situation where you really prefer. I mean, you're on that hash mark. You do prefer JT to be there, you know, against a non-scrambling quarterback because he's a playmaker a lot of times into the boundary because he seems to do a lot of good things in there, you know, because he plays the pass sometimes, he drops, you know, he's just a really versatile athlete to have into the boundary there in that situation.
And obviously you guys were so good in the first half. You're talking about the 2 drives that they did have. Did you just think that maybe you guys wore down a little bit in that moment? Did you get tired? A
No, I
little
don't
bit,
think we
or-
wore down. I think we gave up some bad plays. You know, maybe had a penalty, if I can recall. You know, had some bad plays. You know, and like I said, I think I learned a lot from it too, in terms of adjustments in the running game that we need to make.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Rivals, the podcast.
Jim, you can find numbers that say that the pressure rate has been better than most throughout the first 4 games, or you could take some and say, well, the sack total is pretty low. They're not getting to the quarterback as much as they might want. If you're evaluating this, what's the metric that's most important to you?
Winning third down, winning fourth down, and limiting explosive plays. That's the most important thing. So we seem to be on a good track with that. We want to keep that up. Everybody loves a lot of sacks. So do I. I think when I was younger, I was probably driven more by that. Like, you know, how can we get more sacks, more negative plays? But the bottom line is eliminate the explosive plays, win on third and fourth down. So that's what we got to continue to focus on.
You mentioned this, called it the coordinated rush a few times. In your mind, what does that mean to us amateurs on the outside of coordinated
I can't
rush?
tell you that. I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. That's a secret. That's a secret.
Okay.
We talk about it after the season over a cigar or something. Yeah.
Deal.
If it works. If it doesn't work, then, you know, I'm sure you won't want to talk to me. Okay, there you go.
Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, well, following up on that, Coach Day was in here a while ago, and he basically indicated you've got all these blitzes you'd like to throw at people. I don't know what do you want to call it, repertoire, but do you find yourself holding back or being I don't know if conservative is not the right word, but what is that sense you have about yourself right now so far into the season from what you'd really like to throw at people?
Yeah, the honest answer is yes. Yes. But what matters is what works. You like to have enough because if you need to enact it, you want to be able to enact it, right? So there's always that balance of practice time, like how much do I work on all these things that I have or I'd like to do, because someday we're going to need it, and and how much is it like, you know what? Stay on course, stay with the plan, limit the explosive plays, win third and fourth down, so yes, but the answer is yes. It's a constant battle fought just by myself somewhere. Yeah, that's it.
Voices in your head going
Yes.
on. And one other quick, like JT, like you just touched on a minute ago, there are players that come along that, man, in a moment in a game, you might not have even heard their name called, but suddenly, what is that like to coach a player, I guess, like that? You know what I mean? Can you count on that? But then a lot of times he comes through. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's Coach Day talks about it all the time. It's that competitive excellence, stepping up in the most important moments, I don't know that you coach that as much as you just have faith in it. He's a guy that has shown to do that, right? And a lot of times it's exactly goes back to your last question, I spent a lot of my career trying to call guys into things, and with a guy like that, you just gotta let him play and just believe that he's going to show up when the moment counts the most.
Fourth row middle, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Jim, obviously there's only so many hours in a day, but when you're playing against a quarterback that has been around forever, how does your week change? How does that change your week in that preparation?
Well, this has been good because we had the bye week, right? So you can get ahead. when you can get ahead, sometimes there's a tendency to put more in, but really it's about coming up with a few things and working them over and over again. So I think the increased repetition when you play a quarterback like this is where you can benefit the most.
Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, you had a package for Cody Simon. Looked like he got in a series or two on each side in place of Chambers, and then they played together for just a few snaps. Just if you can, without giving away too much, just a little bit about how you deployed him, why you deployed him, and he did make a play there on the fourth down.
Yeah. Cody has shown some really good things, and he's a great team guy, and he's shown in practice, and he produces in some moments. So I know it's just about me, just like you said, trying to be, I don't know if it's even creative. It's just trying to put him in spots where you can count on him, and so that's just things I look at every week, how to get him on the field.
Joey Kaufman, Plymouth Dispatch.
Jim, I think Notre Dame maybe threw Denzel's way like one time when you have a corner who's covering that well, where teams are respecting him in that way. What does that do for a defense?
Oh man, it's just it gives everybody confidence. Denzel is really playing at a high level, and when you scheme up the coverages, and you can just count on him and kind of take that out of the equation, it allows you to do some other things, with the other guys. And but it's just it's a great thing for the defense, and I think the team when you got a guy playing like that.
As far as in the Notre Dame, the defensive end, you had JT and Jack not coming off the field for any snaps. How unusual that is? What led to that sort of happening in the game? What was just the flow of the game, tight game, 60-something plays?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, it's a tight game. It's a matchup game. It's the plays, the way the game has changed, how many less plays. You just have more of an opportunity to let your best players play. And less substitution in that case, it can be good for us, to keep those guys in there. But it's a balance. You always have to look at it.
Got time for just a couple more. Bill Landis, Rivals, the podcast.
Jim, you guys stopped them on a quarterback sneak where they tried to sneak out the side on you. Just, I guess, generally, what are the challenges of defending a quarterback sneak? And I don't think you guys have seen a team that tries the one where you just push the quarterback across the line, but do you have any thoughts on that way of going about it?
Yeah, I mean, you have certain calls that you make, and my hometown team, right? They've made that famous, and Notre Dame had actually showed it with a different guy running it, right? Like, was it a tight end or something like that? So that was new to try to have the quarterback run it, but you try to do the push inside, and you see Tommy like kind of Palomalu over the top. But part of that plan is you always have to have the escape hatches. You got to have those escape hatches. They got to get out, and that one worked out perfectly. It really did. I mean, Sonny went right to the escape hatch, which was awesome.
Fourth row right, Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
I know when we talk about the safeties moving around, being able to play all three spots, we're often talking about Sonny. But with Josh and Lathan and having moved them a bunch around the boundary, up high, back and forth, what kind of dynamic is that to help your defense, and how has that helped so far?
Well, it just helps because of knowledge of the system, right? You got to be safeties when they can see the whole forest through the trees. Then they know what's going on, and they play some over there. They know what's going on that side, and they just have a better understanding of the entire defense. And that's what you want your safeties. You want your safeties to really understand all the details, no matter where they're lined up. And I think when you can move them around a little bit, that helps. It just helps their learning.
Right next door, Spencer Holbrook,
Jim, on the other side of Denzel, how have you evaluated the way that Davison has played so far and then Jordan in the slot?
Davison, very aggressive, very aggressive. I think, you feel him out there, you feel his presence there. He's continuing to get better, but he's aggressive. And, you can count on him to show up in the running game, which is a big deal there into the boundary. And Jordan is really talented, moving to that nickel position is really, it's not that easy, the nickel corner, or, you want to have a guy there with corner skills, but then there's a myriad of adjustments that go with it. So he's just continued to improve. He's going to get better every game.
And two and done, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Steve asked you about Cody. Joey asked you about the defensive ends. You talked about wanting to play more depth at both those positions coming into the season. But once you get into it, do you have to kind of reevaluate where you can do that, how you can do? I mean, to us, it's okay. You just put guys in and play more. But I realize there's more to it.
Yeah, always. You're constantly weighing, hey, we want to play more guys. I want to play more guys. You want more guys to play. And then, you find yourself falling back into, certain people at certain times. So, yeah, there's what's working, versus what you want to do. And most of the time as a coach, you're going to stick with what's working.
And we'll close out far right, Adam King, WBNS.
You go through fall camp, the off season, but there's kind of an intangible to when you win a game like that on the road up at Notre Dame. When you look at that locker room afterwards, and I guess throughout the bye week, do you see this kind of defense bonding together more, saying, hey, look, this is all we worked for?
Yeah, I mean, that belief amongst players, it's exactly like you talk about in our game. It's all good to talk about, but, until you actually do it on the field, you want to talk a game, you want to envision the game, then it's either you do or you don't. And the more you do, the better you feel and the more you believe.
Coach, are the ants in the locker room after?
Nope.
Coach, I got one more in. Jeremy Birmingham, Rivals, the podcast.
Jim, because Steele and Tommy have been so reliable and so good, whenever they have a game that maybe looks off, I think it stands out to people maybe more than other guys. Was there something specific that Notre Dame was doing that made them look so out of place at times, or is that a consistent issue with the more physical offensive lines getting to them?
Yeah, you're right on. They, really good offensive line, and a premier opponent, and they can play better. They both know it, and like I said, it's when you win a game like that, you can learn a lot from it that'll help your growth overall. So it's going to come around again. And they'll be better.
Coach, thank you very much. Thanks for this.